now we are going to be having little different. We have all the while we have been having one speaker, giving his views and presentation, and now we are going to have two speakers, basically two people, and one in conversation with each other. And Mr. Hosangadi is going to take the interview of Mr. Sharma. That's going to be live. And before that, I would like to introduce Mr. Hosangadi, Siddharth Hosangadi, who is the founder of GoPush Consulting. Mr. Siddharth is an entrepreneur and business leader with over 24 years of diverse experience in sales, leadership, and consulting. He is an avid insight seeker who has conducted several compelling interactions with top thought leaders and ex-CXOs. As a founder of GoPush Consulting, creating outstanding sustainable success for small and mid-sized IT products and services companies through sales, consulting, training, coaching, and technology interventions. So over to you, Mr. Hosangadi.
Thank you, Animesh, and it's a pleasure to have with us a very esteemed speaker today. So I have the pleasure of introducing him today. So we have Shailendra Sharma as our guest on this discussion. Shailendra is an alumnus of NITI, and he's been with Asian Paints since 2008. He's part of the digital leadership at Asian Paints, and he's leading many digital initiatives around supply chain planning, around manufacturing automation, Industry 4.0, and even HR. So he's a very deep expert in the supply chain planning area, and he's worked on a whole host of tools like i2, like JDA, like O9, like SAS, like SAP. And he's been driving various world-class programs, leveraging advanced analytics and Industry 4.0 in fully automated manufacturing plants. So we have a person who's a supply chain practitioner who's going to be talking to us. So the topic we're going to be discussing today is evangelizing and building digital capabilities in supply chains by leveraging advanced analytics and IoT. That's quite a mouthful. So what we will do is, as part of this discussion, we will be trying to demystify some of these things and make it simple so that people can take away some message from here. So welcome to the discussion, Shailendra. Great to have you.
Yeah, thanks. First of all, like to thank IIM Institute to giving this opportunity, and thanks Siddharth and in fact Ramesh from 10XT, right, to reach out and allowing me to share what I have learned in so many years working and driving transformations or in supply chain areas. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Shailendra. The first question that I have for you is a simple one, right? What does it take to evangelize these kind of digital initiatives related to supply chain, especially in large companies? A lot of the companies that we are, we have in the audience here will be large companies. So what does it take to evangelize these initiatives related to supply chain in a company like this?
So I think first, just before getting into what it takes, I think I'll like to introduce the institute, right? Asian Paints is I like to call it an institute because this is where we keep innovating and experimenting, and our quest for optimizing supply chain is very high. Okay, just to give a brief history, we had. Invested into a supply chain packaged applications way back in 1999 with i2. In fact, that is 2 years before we invested into a ERP solution. Okay, so that's the I would say the level of belief on supply chain efficiencies in Asian Paints. And I think since then we are always in front running and keep leveraging various cutting edge technologies to solve business problems. Okay, so if I have to extrapolate that itself in to answer your question, I think to evangelize digital initiative supply chain, one we need to have a business strategy alignment with IT in some form, right? So whatever you do in IT has to have a business driver, and on top of it, there is a management conviction which is required to ensure that you will able to take up such projects and drive it through till the end. And in the process, what also I have learned, right, in Asian Paints, we don't really see IT or supply chain as two part, but those are the two functions working together to drive the business efficiency is the way to say it, right? So I think the change management becomes the part of your project or the initiative, so as to speak, rather than an afterthought, right? So I think if I have to again sum up the question which you asked, to evangelize, it's management conviction, right set of processes. In fact, process maturity is another key element where if your processes are matured, then you can pick up various supply chain concepts and really use the software in a right spirit, right? It's like with software we say, right, it's a gigo, right, garbage in garbage out. So if your processes are mature, they have ability to take right input and you give right output, kind of a thing, then there is a high chance that you will able to transform your supply chain leveraging digital platforms. So yeah.
An interesting point you brought up about management conviction. Okay, so the question is, how do you convince them, and who does the convincing? So, do the initiatives start from the business? Do they start from the digital or IT department? Or do they start because some vendor has come and brought in the point? Where do these initiatives start, and who does the convincing?
So I think that's a question all of us been through, right? And there is no one right answer, so to speak. But I think what works out at least is the conviction on the transformation, right? Your ability to believe in what initiative you are bringing to the table and why you are bringing to the table. Okay, so it's always be a joint work with say, for example, if you're driving a supply chain work, it's a supply chain and IT going together to the management for the conviction. I think that's where it works, right? You put up your neck on the ground, right? It's not just like one IT implementation, but I'll commit on a business outcome. So that's, I think that's the key. And we have seen, right, supply chain transformation is a long iterative journey. Okay, there's no silver bullet, there's no one initiative which you can just pick up and run it for a certain duration and you get out of it. I don't think that's the way you can run this area, right? So if I have to put it up in an alternate way, like, see, you have to see how is your value chain, what do you see in your value chain, right? It will start from your consumer on one end, and it will go till sourcing, right, to your suppliers and partners to the other end. And you have to have intermingled this value chain to your business drivers, right? And see how you can use supply chain to make what you call to make it a differentiator for your business. I think that's one thing which we did, at least, right? All of us are aware, we are handling today almost 70,000 plus dealers on a daily basis. We are serving them across India, right? That's a kind of a distribution network we are talking about. And we have built on the past laurels, so to speak, right? The whole supply chain optimization was got built up at a certain level and a certain scale, and since then it's all we challenge again each other and keep bringing it to the next level, right? So that's what I think it works. At least that's what has worked out for us in some form. And if I have to call it out in terms of, like, if I get into a newer organization and I have to redo these kind of things, right? How we'll go about it in terms of supply chain transformation. So I think first of all you need to really begin with what we did. Typically you do a roadmap exercise, right? So you need to define what all your growth drivers for next 2-3 years, and create a joint team from business and supply chain and IT, and have a roadmap laid out in terms of what all your business driver which you want to improve on leveraging your supply chain efficiency, so to speak, right? And then break it into smaller chunks, right? And again, when I say you put up a roadmap, you also need to see how you are defining those areas, right? For example, typically what we have observed align with our business growth, you will start with say SNOP process, right? So that's I think the most easiest one, I would say, if you have to showcase the value to begin with, and the toughest one to execute, by the way. Easiest one to justify on PPT and toughest one to execute in reality. But I think that gives you a lot of avenues in your supply chain in terms of where are the bottlenecks, where are the demand is coming, and once you get a some handle on your demand position, you will work on debottleneck or synchronizing your rest of the supply chain, be it manufacturing or the procurement side, right? So that's the way I see this journey going on. And then you pick up small and short term and long term projects, right? So finally, in the end, there are certain initiatives you run for a duration, could be 3 months, 6 months. There are initiatives where you have to go for some longer commitment, right? So you will have some early wins, you have certain long-term things, and it's an iterative. There is no right or wrong, but it's iterative and it is evolving, right? So what you
So
thought, what
Shailendra,
you do, yeah.
you kind of preempted my second question, which is I was going to ask you that there could be a dozen places where someone could do initiatives around digitizing the supply chain, around procurement, around vendor relations, around inventory in the inward supply chain, inventory in the organization. A dozen places we could initiate digital initiatives. So how does one, what's a good place to start, and how does one select that, okay, this is the one that I will pick? So give some insight on that.
So I think it all depends in terms of how is your supply chain's digital maturity is, if I have to use that term. Now, just to decipher that, as I said, you can start with defining your value chain and the attribution which you need to bring in, right? So like how mature is your SNOP process? Okay, that could be a starting point. Then to fulfill your SNOP commitments, what kind of distribution network you need to have, what kind of infrastructure you have today, what are the bottlenecks which are not allowing you to deliver or service the customer as you want to wish as per your SNOP. Then aligning your manufacturing areas according to that. And within manufacturing also, then you will go into debottleneck your capacities, your manufacturing processes, and then you will go into say procurement areas and see what kind of tie-ups and relationship I can have with the suppliers, so as to speak, right? So I think the starting point, I feel, still has to be the business ask and the area which you want to attack first, right? And it will be contextual to the business, to the challenge which you want to resolve. But if I have to pick in each of these areas how you can go about it, for example, in demand side, right? So you might want to start with say your forecasting setups, right? How good they are, okay? And with pandemic, each one of us got tested, so as to speak, right? All history has gone for a toss. So that will decide how your other part of the organization got aligned to the numbers which you are getting, how what is your ability of your people which you gave beyond statistical output, right? How they can play around with data, how they can really do some analysis and take decisions on the fly, so to speak, and still have a sense on overall impact on a certain duration, right? That becomes very critical. So that is one area to start, could be a starting point. Then within say manufacturing, if I have to comment, typically what I have observed, right, manufacturing organizations in itself, those are organizations, right? Within a sub organization, so to speak, there is a culture to a plant. When you go to a plant, you find a different audience, a different people, right? And they have a different expectations, and they see management as someone sitting in HO. And I think there I feel you need to run digital initiatives very differently. And well, what I have observed, or at least I would like to think of a synonym, like when festivals comes, right, in our house, like be it like Diwali, right? Pre-Diwali, there is a lot of work which we do in terms of cleaning our house, taking care of hygiene, blah, and a lot of work happens, and there is a festivity around it. I feel that's the way you might need to run those small hygiene initiatives within plant, co-create a kind of a purpose for those teams, right? And keep working on those, giving them early wins, starting bringing in changes, small, involving them in creating that purpose. And I think in the process, you bring in the system visibility, you bring in, say, the technologies, like today with IoT, with so many data available. I think technology then become the de facto to enable that festivity in the organization, is the way I see. Then moving to the third leg of it, like if you want to do really something on the supplier side, or on your purchase organization, so to speak, I think their visibility and collaboration are the only tool which you will have, right? The kind of relationship you share with your partners or suppliers, the kind of trust which you have. And I think in the current situation, all those got tested, right? No matter what commitment you had, but given the situation, your ability to react to the situation, right? If you see, right, our ability, for example, in Asian Paints case, our ability to push back as soon as things got opened up to the market, our ability to get the material on time in spite of having all kind of world supply chain disruptions, is I think is kind of a testimonial to the work which we have done in a long term. But yeah, it's a painful, long, iterative journey.
Got it. So once you decide that you have evangelized an initiative and you want to start certain initiatives, how do you go about actually executing on these initiatives in a humongous supply chain like an Asian Paints? How do you really get going on this?
I think there are two aspects to it. One is, I'm assuming we have taken care of whatever we discussed earlier in terms of you have aligned a roadmap. The management is convinced about what you want to build as supply chain capability for future. That has been aligned, right? That has been taken care of in terms of what. Then it comes to the how part, right? And I think that's the most exciting part of it, if I have to call it out. And I think one way of executing is really co-creating a team, right? And it can't be like a business is given certain requirement, and then there is an IT team who's coming and implementing it, and then there is a business user testing it, right? If you run that conventional model, I think such kind of a transformations might be very tough. Okay, so what works for us is a common team where we work together to define what is the outcome. There is a what you call a project manager from both the side, okay, from business and IT working together and getting the work done, okay. And there is a sense, right? So typically what you do at the start of the project, you define what you want to how do you measure the success, right? What is your end date? And from that future, you come back and work backward in terms of defining milestone. If this is the future we want to achieve, how you work backward, right? And the future is not the go live, okay? Future is what is the business outcome you want to achieve. It could be 3 months post you have gone live, right? So there is a stabilization phase, there is a change management thing, and then there is an outcome which you might see as a result. So I see those are the elements which typically might get ignored in the quest of running multiple projects, closing initiatives in a time. I think that's what I feel is becoming more key in terms of executing such project. Yeah.
Got it. That's a lovely answer. Very practical, very down to earth. You spoke about use of analytics. Now, what is the place for what we call advanced analytics? In these transformational initiatives around supply chain, inbound or whatever. What is advanced analytics doing there?
So I think again I'll answer it in two ways. One is I'll first try to answer advanced analytics in supply chain, right? So I'm sure all of us agree who are the supply chain practitioners. Advanced analytics are not new, right? We are using forecasting model since decades, right? And I think those are always there. And I think supply chain is the first place after say financials or from a data richness and the quality of data point of view, right? And that's where you will experiment most of your prediction models or algorithms, so to speak, and OR as a practice is long drawn, right? And those are the things which you will enable with these algorithms. So I think that is one. And second, now with industry 4.0 coming in, and people are opening up in sharing data. Right now you will have a long visibility beyond your closed supply chain, or there is a lot of data which is coming beyond your transactional records, right? That is allowing us to make these models useful in the context of business. That's the way I see. The another element which advanced analytics is playing or helping in creating a visibility, right? Which I think is in a way saying earlier we used to say in supply chain, right material at right point in time in at right quantity. I think it's right information at right point in time in a right amount. I think that becomes the critical for any advanced analytics to work, right? My ability to react on that prediction or apply that recommendation into actual operation will make it impressive, so to speak, right? And that's what we're doing. We're using analytics in forecasting. We have created a lot of control towers to really bring in visibility across and build small models wherever we can leverage data to give some kind of analytics, right? So if I have to again think through from a supply chain user point of view, right? If I'm a procurement guy, what I want to know pricing is moving, right? So I might have to build do some web scraping, create a model for him, and give him that one data point or two data point max. I can't show him like 100 reports of what is happening in the world for your raw material, right? So how our ability to abstract or remove the complexity of advanced analytics as a backend and still give a relevant information to the user will drive your advanced analytics, so to speak. I'm keeping the complexity part of implementing the data quality and all of that. I'm assuming those will be taken care of, but talking more on the practice part of it. Yeah.
Got it. That's a nice example. Can you share a few examples maybe of Internet of Things, right? That's the next hot thing. Everyone's talking about manufacturing 4.0. So give an example or two of IoT transforming the inbound supply chain. Maybe something, because we've got a lot of procurement people sitting here. So it'd be
Sure.
nice to hear something on that side of things.
So I think when it comes to inbound, right, I think that's the area which is more complex and the variability which might not be in your control, so to speak. So one is purely from an IoT application. I would say what we have done in our factories. Okay, so if you see all our most of our big Asian Paints plants are like in an area of say 170 175 acre big land. Okay, where like hundreds of trucks are coming in, going out on a daily basis, right? And a lot of raw materials are coming in, getting unloaded, and there is a complex process of quality check. Where should be the truck should get parked, then truck should move into a certain dock door, it should get unloaded. So what we have done, actually we have created a kind of a Bluetooth network within the plant. Okay, it's like we created a parallel network of Bluetooth, and as soon as a truck enters in the plant, we just give a tag or a beacon to the we attach it to the truck, And now I have a full visibility what this truck is, what material it is carrying, what weight of the truck is. As soon as it go to the weigh bridge, I know, and it is fully integrated to my ERP. Okay, nobody is doing any data entry, so to speak, and like and it also integrated with our, say, the announcement systems, right? So when for example there is a truck which is in the parking lot, now the guy has to move to a sample space, okay, to get the sampling process done. Now there is an announcement, truck number this, please reach to that. Earlier it was like a person sitting calling it out. Now we auto enabled all of that, and it get triggered based on what is the need and where is the space available. You're utilizing your parking space, where should truck should get parked. You're guiding the driver into going to that space. So that's one element what we have enabled within the plant. The another example which I can think of is we have for our packing material, especially where the material comes and we have to unload into our godown. Typically, we get palletized material for this thing. What we have done, we have automated fully the unloading process. Okay, so as soon as truck comes, my there is an automated system which goes inside the truck and pull out the material, put up on the conveyor, and the material get inverted. Almost zero human intervention, so to speak. Now, to enable this again, I would say the collaboration plays a role where we have given our supplier application where while loading, they are actually scanning each and every pallet and giving me a visibility what material, which pallet, what quantity it is coming in, and I'm just unloading it. So the level of, because of the collaboration and leveraging these IoT technologies, I feel we were able to unlock lot of inefficiencies in within such a complex operation. Yeah.
Fantastic. So, just one last question from my side, that, how we are, since one of the themes of this particular event we are having of Disha is, around building a resilient supply chain. So how do we collaborate with these suppliers and dealer ecosystems to build a resilient supply chain, and what is the role that, digital or analytics plays in this?
So I think that's the very pertinent question, and I feel again I'm very passionate about what we do. So so if you see Asian Paints, right? I was talking about like we are having a partner ecosystem where our customers are dealer, where we are serving them almost 70,000 plus dealer on a daily basis. We have given them a B2B e-commerce platform. They'll place order and their material will get serviced within 5 hours, right? So and when we are talking these dealers, right, if you have to think through, these guys are the hardware shops which are there in your area, right? It's a very small space. The guy is dealing with a space issue. They are very sensitive towards the cash flow, and how you grow together, right? I think that's what give them sense a business, a continuous business from Asian Paints. The whole efficiency which you are bringing into their business and ensuring that it's an inventory turn, right, on the shop, on the dealer shop. Build that with the help of these advanced analytics and digital tools on this side of business, and that's where I think that's the reach which we were able to build. On supplier side also, we have all long time partners. Okay, so if you see, we all of most of our raw material suppliers are all our long term partners in our business. Okay, we grow together. And just to give you one more insight around that, like today we have a dedicated team which we call it as a joint value creation. It's a team who works with suppliers and co-create various projects and initiatives, right? Which where we will together unlock the potential, right, to do the same business operation. So if I am doing X crore of business today, how I can do the same X crore volume with a certain less cost, right? So that's a very different ball game, and I think those are the collaboration elements which, powered by technologies and data, is what fueling the work, is the way I put it up. And that's where the resiliency comes into picture and the trust comes into picture, because they know, right, they are going to be in business as long as we are in the business, and then we are putting all effort and investment to ensure we execute the business with almost top-notch efficiency, so to speak.
Fantastic, Shailendra. These are some excellent inputs, which are which tell us why Asian Paints is really at the top of the heap in terms of its business. So some very good answers. Thank you so much. There are a few questions that the audience has asked. So one question has been asked by Shirish. He's saying Asian Paints is really an institute for transformation. So how did you marry change management with the latest technology and the change in mindset of dealers and staff? What was more difficult, technology implementation or mindset change?
I think it's mindset as obvious one, right? So it's not the technology, right? And when technology works, the mindset also evolve. I would say that way. So I don't think if I would say we just develop a technology, give it into the hands of the people and they start using it. I don't think so. That's the case, right? For example, I was talking about that whole our dealer B2B journey, right? And when I say the people are now placing order on the mobile application, it's a transformational work which is happening for almost 12 years or 15 years now. We have set up our first call center in way back in 2004 and 5, and I think developed our centralized application to take orders, and from there we have developed mobile application at a certain duration in I think 2011-12, and it is still a journey. I would not say we have reached 100% to it, but at the same time I think the ecosystem is also supporting, right? There is a dealer who was working along with us. Now there is a next generation of these new businessmen coming in. They're okay to adopt technology, and now with the consumerization of all mobile tech, it has become easy, so to speak. But yeah, mindset still play a role, whether I will use mobile to see Facebook, WhatsApp, or I will use mobile to do my business, is still a mindset which we keep grappling with. But I think the change is still quite appreciative now. People are more, I would say, absorb it fast. And what it has done, right? One is just enabling the edge, but the real value is how you leverage the data which you're collating from the edge and building your core data models, analytics, and as I said, was talking about, right, how you will consume that complexity in your backend, which is a combination of what team you're working in, how strong your data analytics team is, how much domain understanding that team has to really make use of the data to apply into data model, right? So we have created like along with supply chain, we have a dedicated I would say data scientists who are working along with them to ensure that the business insight and data understanding goes in and hand in hand to develop these models. So that is other way to look at it.
Thank you, Shailendra, for your time. It was fantastic talking to you.
Thanks to IAM, and thanks Siddharth for asking and just telling the world what we are doing. And I'm really excited about the thing, and I'm enjoying the moment, so as to speak.
Yeah, in fact, Mr. Sharma, just to add, last year we had Mr. Manish Choksi, in one of the chats in the same program, and probably in 1 hour, he probably shared with us a full book on supply chain.
Yeah,
that's amazing, that was that amazing, and I mean,
is the institute for us, and
yes,
the kind
so in
of
fact,
insight,
this
clarity of thoughts which you get from him is amazing.
Correct. And in fact, this year also having you here in one similar chat, it was a conversation, and it's not like a speech or a presentation by somebody. So it was very, very interesting and engrossing, to say the least. And we always look Asian Paint as a benchmark, in terms of technology, use of technology. I think they were always ahead of times in right from beginning, I would say. Whether to bring new technologies in terms of color shades, mixing, and all that machines. So I mean, they were the first one to do everything. That's why probably they are the leaders even today. So thank you very much for spending time. And Mr. Siddharth, that was an excellent conversation you led, and we are all very happy that that all the participants has got maximum value out of this, and I'm sure they will carry it to their workplace also. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.